I have to say, I'm not one of these people who always wanted to start my own company. That's actually not one of my things. Before I started Poly Portfolio in 2014, I was a partner at a hedge fund called C12 Capital. We had about 13 billion in assets at our peak, which included $1 billion in a macro strategy. And what I did is I was the head of portfolio, which actually meant that I was in charge of everything analytical. So that started from risk, through portfolio construction, through model validation, through decision support, and even into aspects of execution. We started out life with about 30 investment professionals, and over time we used a lot of automation to sort of capture the things that they understood about the markets. And in the end, we were probably about 7 investment professionals, still trading about 15 to 20 different global asset classes. And we did that by doing a lot of automation that people don't normally think about. So it's not just operational stuff, but all the stuff around sort of coming up with trade ideas, validating trade ideas, researching them, and then even sizing trade ideas. So a lot of that was done automatically. But it occurred to me that the really exciting thing about automating a lot of the investment logic is not so much so you can go home earlier, it's so that you can address the individual problems that lots of different clients solve. And of course, that's super true in the wealth management space, right? What we did is we set up Poly Portfolio in 2014, and the idea was really to adapt that technology to solve individual wealth management problems. And it's funny because we kind of think of each client as a problem. Not so much that they're a bad thing, but just that every client comes to the table with their own set of issues, right? They may have different goals, they may have different objectives, but it's not just that. They also may have different existing portfolios. They'll have different investment philosophies. They'll believe different things about the way the world works. You'll have some people who are very concerned about inflation, other people who are concerned about what's going on in the emerging markets, other people who are worried about trade and the new Trump administration, whatever it is. And so that's really where we live. Poly Portfolio, we take our mission as acting like an investment strategist for every single financial advisor. So we kind of take the view, if every financial advisor could have their CIO or have a personalized investment strategist sitting on their shoulder, sort of supplementing everything they do, whether it's preparing for a meeting with a client, prospecting for a client, being in a meeting with a client, they could be so much more efficient, they could be so much more effective, they could discuss, really in a very effective way what's going on in client portfolios, what has happened, what might happen, what probably will happen. And so we're all about providing those tools. I kind of mentioned that there are 2 components to our company. There's one pretty sophisticated system that is a way of configuring the investment strategy, which is entirely an enterprise product. And then there's another product which is focused on communicating investment strategy, both by figuring out how it applies to a specific client and then generating, literally generating natural language explanations for everything that goes on. So look, robo-advisors, they do provide some degree of personalization, but what it is usually there's a set of canned portfolios, fixed portfolios, and how those portfolios came to be is not part of the conversation. It's not really part of the experience, part of the user interaction. And so a strategy that's approximately right for a client, but still doesn't look at how they're invested today, still doesn't try to understand what they're concerned about or what they're thinking about, well, that's close, but not made for it. Now, in order to custom make a portfolio for a client in that situation, well, the system needs to have a number of capabilities that are missing from a lot of systems, but not ours. It needs to be able to analyze the client's existing portfolio and try to understand what's going on there, understand what it looks like from a risk perspective, even understand some of the intent behind why maybe that portfolio looks the way it does. Also understanding that sometimes accidents happen and there's not a great reason why a portfolio looks at it the way it does. It also needs to understand how markets work. It needs to understand the kinds of things that people are concerned about. So it needs to understand that, well, maybe some clients are concerned about rising interest rates and rising inflation in the US right now. And they also need to understand, well, what are you supposed to do for a client then? Maybe you're supposed to buy some gold, maybe you're supposed to shift to tips, maybe you're supposed to just take down your bond exposure entirely. And those are pieces, and so when I say our system includes a lot of sophisticated investment knowledge, those are exactly the kind of reasoning that our system supports.